Good afternoon and welcome to A Walk in Their Shoes. This is an LCB Senior Living Dementia Simulation and my name is Brittany Moore. I am the Reflections Director here for the residents at Five Corners, and it is my honor today to be with you to walk you through A Walk in Their Shoes. This intentional program was created 10 years ago for our first line responders, our associate team, so that they could have a better understanding on how to work best with our residents. We eventually brought in our family members, and now extensively we are bringing it to the greater community and making sure that everybody really has that opportunity to understand what it may be like for someone living with dementia. Just some statistics to go over. Alzheimer's is the most common cause of dementia, accounting for an estimated 60 to 80% of all cases. It is normal for most individuals to experience brain changes of one or more causes of dementia. And about 1 in 9 people over the age of 85 and older have Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And as of 2023, an estimated 6.7 million Americans aged 65 and older were living with Alzheimer's dementia. This is a significant diagnosis that is not going away. It is something that will continue to push forward, and so we will continue to push forward. And through basic understanding of how to communicate best with these folks, we can create a better opportunity of living for them and uniquely also their families. Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative brain disease and the most common form of dementia. It is not a specific disease, it's an overall term that describes a group of symptoms. There are over 100 different diseases that could have a symptom of dementia. These include, but are not limited to, Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, FTD, dementia with Lewy bodies, as well as Parkinson's and Pick's disorder. Someone with dementia will rely more often on sensory input, also nonverbal communication, which is geared by our amygdala's brain function, and we don't quite lose all of it in the same way we do our hippocampus. 60 to 80% of people with dementia also will at some point have depression, and the best way to combat that is to have them living an engaging and active life. We've heard, the term, if you don't use it, you lose it, and this is true. So we want to really prompt them to have that independence of abilities to maintain those skills. Another thing to note is that there are times where folks could be experiencing delirium. Delirium can be brought on by things such as UTIs. And in fact, it is something that will get better and is reversible with treatment, whereas dementia is a symptom of a diagnosis that will continue to cognitively decline. By 2025, the number of people 65 and older with Alzheimer's disease is projected to reach 7.2 million. That will be a 7% increase overall. And by 2060, that number of people with Alzheimer's dementia is projected to reach 13.8 million. This is also reflecting on what developments will come through medical breakthroughs and preventions to slow and or cure Alzheimer's, with the hope that one day we will live to see that first person reversed out of this diagnosis. The real question is, will we be prepared? Will we be educated and empathetic individuals for the influx that is coming? And how are we going to hold their hands through that journey? In 2022, more than 11 million caregivers of people with Alzheimer's or other related dementias provided an estimated 18 billion hours, that is unpaid assistance to their loved ones, a value at $339.5 billion. To reference this, that is approximately 59% of the net value of Walmart's total revenue in the fiscal year of 2022, and more than 14 times the total of revenue of McDonald's in 2022. What does this all result in? Caregiver burnout and stress. Caregiver burnout is real. 38% of family caregivers of folks with Alzheimer's have symptoms of physical stress, and 59% report high emotional stress. Without any guidance, caregivers will wait until a crisis occurs, resulting in costly and unnecessary hospitalizations, emergency visits, and unnecessary placements in geriatric psychiatric units, as well as long-term care facilities. To take care of others, you must first take care of yourself. We all know when the plane's going down, you put that oxygen mask on, but sometimes as a caregiver, it's hard to put the pause in place to care for you because you're too busy thinking of your loved one. Self-care is just as essential as it is for the care that you are providing. And unfortunately, a lot of caregivers do wait, and it will significantly result in their decline of health and inability to support their loved one. So being aware of local support groups, of local amenities that they could bring into their home to support them, finding communities such as the residents at Five Corners when the time comes, of course, and recognizing that we're going to hold their hand again through that conversation. It is not an easy decision, but at times we know it is a necessary one. What does this mean for healthcare professionals? It means that people are staying in their homes longer, they're coming to us later, they're further declined, possibly physically as well as cognitively, which is also going to result in caregiver stress. So again, to take care of others, we must first take care of ourselves. The hope is that we're going to become empowered to be better and to better understand. Now I'm going to say a statement that really resonates with me. It's that the person with dementia is having a hard time. They are not giving you a hard time. It's really often that we can look at someone and not recognize that they might be living with dementia. At times it is the unseen diagnosis. And we live in a very face-past world, so when we're communicating with them, our initial expectation is they're going to be quick in responding. The difficulty is when you ask someone with dementia a question and you don't allow them the opportunity to process what you've asked. By asking another question, you're not helping them. You're starting that loop over. And for these folks, they really are learning and living again for the first time. So when they don't know something, they truly don't understand it. When they are afraid, it is truly a fear-based emotion within them. And so if I look at it through the lens of they're having a hard time and not trying to make my world a little difficult, it helps me work better with them. And I think it helps me lead a little more with grace. So now that we understand the need for the frontline education, let's get started with the simulation details. We're going to start with gloves and bands. Gloves and bands are focused on the dexterity of our hands and our fingers. This represents the potential that somebody is living with arthritis. Many people will experience difficulty with using utensils, getting dressed on their own, or even picking up small objects. Folks often you will see instead of picking up with their hand, they will actually come over to the table and slide it off so that they're not having to use their digits. Fine motor skills are compromised at this point. So best tips on working with someone with these difficulties. We're going to assist them with performing the ADLs in a dignified way to prevent frustration, which may lead to agitation. We're going to bring in music because we're going to use a person-centered approach. So if Elvis Presley is my resident's favorite person, that's what I'm putting on when I'm getting her ready in the morning. We're going to use hand under hand, which is in effect putting a hairbrush in your hand, gently having that resident follow your motion, allowing them to take it over, removing your hand so they can continue on, and then prompting and cueing again when they fall off and need that assistance. We're going to do this through the representation of choice, giving them the independence and the freedom, and recognizing that although we are on a path of cognitive decline, there are still opportunities for us to have that independence and still make our own wants and needs known. We may utilize thick-handled utensils, sometimes for our friends, especially with Parkinson's, who may get some tremors. This will often calm that down so that they can actually have a more enjoyable meal. And then, as always, we're going to use dignified sensory objects, something for them to pet, manipulate, and fondle while we're doing things for them that they may no longer be able to do for themselves. Remembering that these are adults, and so we're going to honor who they are as a person and not just quickly rush them through a process, recognizing that when we take a short moment in time, we've set ourselves and that individual up for the success of that task-oriented moment. Sunglasses. Sunglasses will be representing visual impairments. These glasses will be simulating a decreased peripheral vision that can occur, direct vision difficulties, difficulty seeing color contrast due to the yellowing lens of our eye as we age, and a general darkening of everyday eyesight. Fact, 75% of people over the age of 65 have a visual impairment of some kind, and 60 to 80% of people living with dementia are challenged with depression. The lack of light and clarity of the surroundings can be a contributing factor to their overall depression, mood, and orientation today. When working with them, we're always going to be approaching from the front, which is really just a best practice for anyone. I don't know about you, but if somebody comes up behind me before I've had my first cup of coffee, I'm probably going to give a little yelp. So it's also meeting people where they're at. Setting up meaningful engagement offerings that support first learner position opportunities, recognizing that somebody could get lost if we have our seating arranged in a lineup. Having that U shape or that having that U shape really allows them to all be front and center at one time, and it helps you captivate their focus and attention, recognizing they're going to stay focused for 15 to 20 minutes before possibly needing the next stimulation. We're going to ensure that areas are well lit. We're going to ensure that blinds are up in apartments, recognizing that the more darkness there is in an area, the more difficulty there will be in someone being able to ambulate safely. It's important to recognize the importance of color contrast when it comes to individuals who suffer with dementia. In our LCB communities, we do this in a variety of ways. First and foremost, our toilet seats are going to be an alternative color from our backdrop. This is to visually assist them in differentiating where it is that they're going to be utilizing the restroom. Again, creating independence of potentially not being able to see where something is, putting their abilities right back in their hands. Green uniforms, we know that green, lime green specifically, is the longest remaining color that somebody will maintain. And so we utilize that for our uniform shirts in hopes that this will give a unified signal to our residents that this is a safe person, that you can in fact go to any individual in that shirt and they will be able to assist you and direct you. And lastly, but not leastly, in our dining room service, we also are using color contrast for folks who have maybe too much of an appetite, a little increase. We might use a dark blue plate to kind of simmer that down and help them with their intake. Alternatively, our sunflower yellow plates are used on a day-to-day basis. Yellow has been shown in testing to increase appetite. So we do use those sunflower yellow. And last but not least, those apricot orange placemats for twofold reasons. We know that as much as folks might have difficulty with auditory access and interpretation as we get older, the buffering of that plate from banging on the table is going to be calming for them and allow them to have a better restaurant experience during their dining service. And again, it also is creating that color contrast between our plate, the table, to really allow that food to be prominent so that they get the best intake possible. Disposable nose clamps. This is everybody's favorite. Disposable nose clamps. This is going to be simulating difficulty breathing due to both the aging lung as well as the elongation of the cartilage in the nose. Fun fact, your nose does keep growing. Even though other parts of us do not, the nose and the cartilage will continue to extend. Fun fact, our brain is about 2% of all our body mass, but yet uses up to 25% of our oxygen. So if you think for a moment about a person who might be in panic, when that occurs, your breathing changes, right? You're going to be requiring more oxygen to get through that moment. It increases from 25% to 50%. Now think about somebody who is in the midst of dementia. We can think, logic, and reason ourselves out of whatever we may be feeling. That individual may not even know what the original antagonist was for the feeling they're feeling. So they're gonna have a harder time getting their emotions to come back down. We're gonna encourage nose breathing as opposed to mouth breathing. This will aid in central nervous system calming. We're going to incorporate deep breathing into daily routine to regulate stress hormones in our central nervous system. Fun fact about meditation, it also can aid in digestion. So doing so after a meal is really wonderful and has been shown to aid in that. Work to validate the residents and support in keeping residents calm. Instead of trying to problem solve or rationalize what they're feeling in that moment, we're gonna get on their side and we're gonna validate what the experience is and we're gonna live in that space with them. And if that means we're taking a venture down a hallway and we're getting on their side about Barbara taking April's seat, then that's what we're doing. And eventually we're gonna turn back around after we've validated those emotions and made that person feel calmer, and we're gonna introduce them back into something engaging, because we know that engagement is really what's going to be beneficial to that person. Isolation will only continue further decline in cognition, and so we wanna make sure that we are getting them out and about, they are using it before they are losing it. Next is our headphones. Headphones will be representing a decrease in receptive language and cognitive challenges. A lot of the times our friends with dementia will experience difficulty with aphasia. They can either have receptive and or expressive, or a combination of both. Receptive is the inability to receive the message that you are providing to them, and expressive is the inability to allow themselves to express their needs to you. So this will start to diminish as time goes on. Fact, a person in mid-stage dementia will drop approximately 1 out of every 4 words that we speak to them, while someone in later stages will drop every 2 to 3 out of every 4 words. Additionally, 93% of the way that we communicate is nonverbal. So it is made up by how we show up in the room, our tone of voice, our position and posture. Are we looking somebody directly in the eye? Are we approaching from the front? Are we using a calm tone that really makes them feel as though we are present with them in the moment? When working with these folks, we are also going to remember to keep our outside noises to a minimum. That means during our dining room service, we are not having loud and boisterous music. We are following our musical breath program. Our musical breath sets up our residents for success in their day by brightening their morning with a music that is joyful, bright sounding with multiple instruments. As we go into our lunch period, we're going to diminish down to something more like a smooth jazz, where we're only having a few instruments at present, and then in the evening moving into that single instrument, whether it's violin or piano, really helping them set the tone for their day and also setting them up for success at the end, moving into our sundowning time and eventually our evening routines. We're going to keep directions simple and direct. We're going to use visual cues as well. As I had stated, that hand under hand with the hairbrush, we can do the same thing with a fork in our dining room, allowing that person to take it over after we've showed them. We're always going to approach and communicate from the front, as I had said, recognizing that somebody who is seated or possibly in a wheelchair can find you standing over them intimidating. So we're going to get on their level to really ensure their comfort. The kernels. Kernels are going to represent arthritis and neuropathy, specifically in the lower extremities. Up to 80% of people over 65 are living with arthritis, and in addition, neuropathy may be due to compromised blood flow or limited use of the feet. So folks who are wheelchair bound or spend a lot of time in their bed, this is something that they're going to potentially also be dealing with. Tips for working with them. We're going to be mindful of what the resident might be experiencing, especially during transferring. We're going to take our lead from them. We're going to pace ourselves with them as well, ensuring that it is a comfortable speed for their abilities. We may assist somebody in moving their feet and legs a few times before standing, reminding them to move and wake those legs up so they're ready to do that job. Something else we also might utilize, again, music. This is going to be coming through in rhythmic auditory stimulation. So instead of saying to Tony, come on Tony, let's get up, it's time for lunch. Maybe he's having a hard time hearing me, maybe he's having a hard time understanding what steps or what direction. So I might instead turn around and start singing Hound Dog. And the next thing you know, we're singing and we're moving and we're grooving and we're down the hallway. And we've now moved us through the process of transitioning, which can be difficult for some folks, and we did so by bringing music into their world and brightening that space for them. Plus, it's more fun. So our first item is our gloves and bands. So my lovely assistant will be helping Lauren get those on her hands. Again, this is to simulate dexterity difficulties that come with arthritis and the like. Beautiful, thank you so much. Moving forward, we have our disposable nose clamps. And again, this will be representing the aging lung and the difficulty that occurs for that, as well as the narrowing of the airways due to the cartilage continuing to grow. Moving forward is our headphones. Push and hold. And it'll pair automatically. Beautiful. Our headphones are going to represent our hearing difficulties as we age. And then finally, our kernels. Our kernels are going to represent neuropathy as well as arthritis. And thank you for my viewers as well. Now that she is all geared up, we are going to be having Lauren stand. All right, Lauren, I am going to turn on our music, and then I will be asking her 3 specific questions. All right.
Geez Louise.
So I am going to be asking Lauren to complete a series of 3 items, all while also insisting that we are getting ready for a doctor's appointment. All right, Lauren, we have to get you to your orthodontist. Could you please go in the bag? I need you to find the book and turn to page 12. I also need you to find the deck of cards and get me the Queen of Hearts, okay, the Queen of Hearts. And then lastly, if you could just find the notebook and pen and write down how you're feeling today, okay? Right here in this bag, if you could do that for me.
That was a lot of instructions. Okay.
Yeah, you got this. It's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm just gonna help you get ready for the appointment.
Okay.
Oh, that's all right. Yep, right in there. Right in there. Oh. All right. I think you got to go a little deeper in there. Maybe. Oh. Would you like me to help you? Would you? Oh, well, we don't need the loofah, dear. No, we don't need that. Okay. Well, while you do that, I'm just gonna fix your hair. Oh, no, that's a sock. Oh, you're so silly. You're so silly. Yep. Oh. Well, we did need that book though. We found the cards. Beautiful. Oh, here, let me get that for you. Oh, all right. Oh, well, I can't help you if you turn away. I can't help you if you turn away. Yep, the Queen of Hearts. The Queen. Oh, no, that's the Ace. That's the Ace. Oh, no, that's okay. Here, I'll just find it for you.
I was gonna do it.
Could you find that book though and turn to page 12?
What book did you want?
So the book, you just had the book
There's
on
like 3 books in there.
Well, it would be the novel, dear. The novel.
Oh, okay.
Yes. All right. I think we'll pause there. Lauren, how we doing? I'm going to take this off of you. If you'd like, you can have a seat.
Did I do good?
You did great. You did great. And we can talk about a little bit. So some of the things that I'm wondering, did we recognize anything that could have negatively impacted the ability for her to go through the getting ready process? What were some things that I could have done better, so to speak, right? Well, I could have slowed down my speech, right? Could have slowed down my speech, given short, clear instructions. Instead of doing for, I could have prompted her with, right? A little hand over hand. And if you noticed, I didn't even let her get to finish the last task. I decided that she was too overwhelmed and I ended it for her, right? So again, I took away her independence, the ability to try. I treated her a little like a kid, right? Let me do that for you. Oh, sweetie, right? What did you notice about her as she started going through things? Did you notice the breathing change? You notice the redness in her face? We got a little panicked, right? Which means we started using 50% of our oxygen. So how is someone with dementia going to go through a task-oriented process when they are experiencing that type of panic? And the things that we can do differently to change that experience for them can be life-changing. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. Lauren, thank you for being a lovely test subject. Abrina Kelly, thank you for being my lovely assistant as always. It was a wonderful opportunity to do this for all of you, and I am more than welcome to extend this to anybody else interested. So please let me know. I am here to support you.